I call this meeting to order. Please rise. Mr. Etheridge is going to lead us in invocation and pledge.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great day and opportunity for us to come together today and help guide and lead and direct the county. We ask that you bless our decisions and guide us through this meeting and have what's best interests for our kids and our staff in this county, and all be done through you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda? Ms. Hogan, are there any changes?
No, Madam Chair.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'd like to welcome this big crowd to the meeting this morning. I'd like to welcome the district office to our school board meeting this morning. Now is the time for public comments. If anybody would like to say anything at the podium. Okay, seeing none.
And no emails.
And no emails. Thank you. Ms. Hanlon.
On behalf of Ms. Ruiz, who is at the fair with her daughter. So good morning. At this time, after the approval of the big ideas for K through 5 math and SAVIS for 6 through 12, as the adopted instructional materials for math, the 30-day window to contest opened, and we had no public comments or petitions filed in that 30-day window, and it's now closed. So the plan shared with you, which is in your binder, it looks like this. It outlines the adoption timeline, targeted instructional materials, the selection process, and the purchasing process of the 21-22 math adoption. So this time, we're requesting the board's approval of the instructional materials plan for mathematics K through 12.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Hanlon. Ms. Rollins?
Ms. Rollins, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say Ms. Ruiz and Ms. Rollins both have led us through textbook adoption with ELA last year in math, and just kudos to them. Very professionally done, so appreciate the hard work that goes in with both of them.
Well, as of about 30 seconds ago, we've been successfully through 2 adoptions, and I attribute that, especially since both people leading were very new to their positions, to a reliance on the next document that's on our agenda for today. So what we did is we kind of went through and combed through we've lived through it now for 2 years, and it's time to update a few things and clarify a few things. So there's basically 2 categories of changes that I want to get your approval for today, and the first one is just because Michelle and I have walked through it and lived through it, we have some tweaks, things that'll help make the next person's job even easier. And then the second one is a reflection of instructional materials statutes that are coming down from the state. So that's kind of the changes that I'll walk you through this morning. So page 2, of course, is just changes to the board. Starting on page 6, it goes through the responsibilities of each of both the board and the superintendent. Very minor changes there, but you will see on B2 where it says that the school board is responsible for the content of all instructional materials used in the classroom, and there's an added clause here, whether purchased through an adoption process or otherwise purchased. We're getting a big push coming down from the state as that we know everything we're putting in front of our kids, and we are vetting it, and we're making sure that everything is appropriate for our students. So that's why that clause is being suggested there. Other than that, just a minor addition on number 4, which is this is something the district already takes care of already, is removing old curriculum. So we just added that there on page 6. Then when you move into, no changes on page 7, when you move into page 8 through 10, this is really where Michelle and I fleshed out some things that came to light as we were walking through this document. So we clarified NEFEC's role. NEFEC does a lot for us through the adoption process, and so the next person picking this up want to make sure they're aware of how NEFEC supports this process. The big section that needed some serious clarification was on voting, who gets to vote, how many times do they get to vote. We have some unique situations like at Cedar Key where a teacher teaches multiple classes, and the question gets raised, how many times does that person get to vote for a certain curriculum? So that's what's outlined there, giving everyone a fair voice and making sure that these specific voting procedures are followed from adoption to adoption. Because even between ELA and math, we were like, I don't remember who voted, so we had wanted to really get it nailed down to make sure that it was fair to everyone. Those are the major changes there. Looking at page 11 and 12, if you've got purple on 12, please ignore that. That is verified in statute. So that is now in black text. It had no changes there. We just put that in purple when we were bringing it in front of the district instructional team to make sure that that was needed. But any questions, page 8 through 12, that's really just things that have fleshed out as a part of our process. Anything I can clarify for you in those first initial pages? Yes, ma'am.
I spoke to Mr. Power earlier on B2.
Yes.
And I didn't know if there was any clarification as to, it says here, all of us board members are responsible. And we know that it's basically the adoption process is ran by excellent district personnel. Is it allowable for something to be put in that paragraph, or is it just, is it clarified that regardless if we put it there, it's known that the district takes care of all the, the adoption process? Of course, we review it, but we don't necessarily sit down on day one and prepare it. So I didn't know how that would fit in here, if at all.
I guess we could offer some clarification, like that it's purchased through an adoption process as then is fleshed out in the pages that follow that section. So the adoption process being referenced is what we then spell out on the following pages.
Right.
That's the process that we follow. So would that offer clarification there, or are you looking for?
If it ties into it, perfect.
Yeah.
Then that's fine. I was just wondering if it needed to be here.
Okay.
So it kind of protects, I know we're all bonded.
Right.
But it protects each one of us board members.
Through it. So maybe just saying through a district-led adoption process. Would that?
I mean,
Yeah, I'm fine with that change.
I don't know
if
what
that's something.
Mr. Delaney would.
Well, I mean, again, this goes back to the statute 1006.28. I think if that provides a greater comfort level to include the language district-led, you could do that, but the statute's still a statute. I mean, that does ultimately fall on the board to make that final call.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Any other clarifications or on those pages? The remaining pages, starting on page 13, the only changes you're going to see are specific to instructional material statutes coming down from the state, clarifications that have been offered and amendments that have happened on the state level. So you'll see on page 14, we're putting in their specific clarification about what's deemed harmful to minors, that we're not putting anything in front of our kids that is deemed harmful. If you dig even further into that, most of the clarifications being offered on that statute are sexual content, mostly is what they're after in that state statute. Below that, you will see that something we've had to do this year, and we've already done, is we have to train our media clerks and our administrators about that. We're kind of in a unique, I think everyone in the state of Florida is unique. We don't really have media specialists anymore, so we're training the people that are slated for that role, and that's very different from building to building. But we did train everyone in our district this year on best practices and making sure that we're not putting harmful content in front of our kids. And then the only other addition you'll see on page 16 is another part of that is public access to inventory. This is another thing we've already process we've already started in our district, as far as giving our parents access to seeing what books you can find in our libraries. So already posted on our district website, you'll see Bronson Middle High School shelf list for their library. That's going to be coming all the way down to the classroom library level, though. So far we've got school libraries up, and schools are tasked by August to get all of their classroom libraries inventoried, and we'll be posting those as well. It's a big task, one more thing, but it's in the statute, and so we are accommodating that. So that's the only change you'll see there on page 16. The page 17 through 29, there are no changes at all. The only other change coming is page 30. We did do a more updated timeline for what adoption process really looks like. The timeline that was in here was a little outdated, so we just updated what the timeline has looked like basically for the last 2 years. So that's the only other change. No other documents in the back have been updated. All of those are remaining the same. All the forms and permissions and things like that are remaining the same. Any questions clarifications that I can offer?
Thank you for all the
Thank
hard
you.
work.
Yes, thank you very
No
much.
problem. Okay. I just
We
need
need
your,
action. This is an actionable item.
yeah, I just need your approval on this.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion, so moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
And I think I already know the answer to this question.
Okay.
If we get over on page 22 where it says a teacher may not, it says copy from consumable materials, workbooks, activity books, extras. I'm assuming that's to avoid copyright infringement.
That is
I would
correct, sir.
assume it has no bearing on a child, like say a poor blind joker like me with an IEP, that they need the text
Blown up.
enlarged.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. I just want to be sure. This
The issue
is
would be
strictly
making
to
mass copies
avoid,
of things that we don't have permission to
yeah,
make
this is
copies
to
of.
avoid me being cheap, and instead of buying 20 books, buy one book and make 20 copies.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to be sure that's what I was reading.
Yes, and there's a huge section here on copyright, and we didn't make any changes to that because the law is still very much so the law in terms of copyright.
Thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
I have a question. I think I know the answer also.
Okay.
But when you are doing a review or inventory on books in the classroom and the class is a dual enrollment class, do we have a say if it's on our campus as far as the textbooks that are chosen? Just out of curiosity.
There is a section in here on dual enrollment, but I do
I saw
believe that, I don't know if I can speak to that.
Okay.
But I think we have the ability to control what's being put in front of our kids, I would imagine, but I can definitely
Yeah.
check on clarification for that. That's a great question.
And the next board meeting, we'll be bringing the articulation agreement,
Okay.
we'll get the answer.
So we'll get the
research
answer to
for
that, and that'll be a
Okay.
great place to slide it in.
Okay, great. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Rollins. Okay, Mr. Lott?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is our third presentation of 4.06 board policy requirements for graduation. Are there any questions regarding the proposed policy?
Go ahead.
Mr. Lott, Mr. Cowart and I discussed this as well. The certificate of completion for graduation that's crossed out here, there are possibly, some students that may earn that certificate of completion. Are they not allowed to walk across the stage at all if we remove that verbiage right from here?
That language that was left in there was pertaining to ESC students to receive a certificate of completion. Actually, it should have been special certificate of completion because there are 7 varieties of certificates of completion within the
Okay.
state code. Even adult ed special certificates of completion. So a kid who drops out and goes and does adult ed, they could get a certificate of completion. So that never was really intended to apply to everyone, but I guess technically it could because there is a 24 credit certificate of completion. There is an 18 Excel
Yes, sir.
certificate of completion. So there's different varieties. There's 7 of them. we have not allowed kids who did not receive a diploma to walk across the stage for many years. As a matter of fact, I remember vividly when I was principal at Williston High School, we had a young lady who unfortunately did not meet those testing requirements. She had already received her gown and she was going to sneak into the line and walk across the stage. And I remember having to have the SRO stationed there to make sure that that didn't occur. So past practice, we have not allowed students to do that. You know, basically, what you're talking about is, I guess, equivalent to Little League. Everybody gets a trophy. We got input from our principals, and they 100% agreed. We want that ceremony to mean something. Not just, hey, I showed up for 12 years and I get to walk across the stage. So, technically, yes, a certificate of completion, when we eliminate that, that would eliminate a kid from walking across the stage who receives any certificate of completion. They have also, though, changed the ESE, and they have access points and things like that, which makes it a lot easier for those kids to actually get a diploma. It's not a special diploma, it's not a certificate of completion, it's a diploma. So some of those...
The cohort that this was designed for sunsetted last school year, so, and this unfortunately, so caught this, so, and it didn't align to what our pupil progression, so, and that's the need. But yes, there probably will be students on our campuses, so that could be affected by this, so.
Moving forward, if there were extenuating circumstances as to why a student or students received a certificate of completion, could it then be discussed between the superintendent and the principal? Or is this just a blanket, you will not walk? I mean, a death in the family, but the student still does what they need to do to get their credits, but might not be able to pass certain tests to get the diploma itself. That's just moving forward.
I think the problem lies in that the state has specifically set what the requirements are for students that do not meet an ESE population or the level. And I know the student that we're discussing here,
Yes, sir.
which is why our district staff, when we've had data chats, has really honed in with our principals of what their process was and how they were tracking these students. And that's part of the reason why we now have Ms. Young here on this side of tracking with the MTSS to be a little more proactive with the process on some of these students that may slip through the cracks. And now here we are as a senior, and while we're discussing it, it's also part of the reason why we took a deep, hard look at our district grading practices to make sure classroom grades were aligning to how students were performing on the FSA, and trying to look through that process to make sure that there's good, strong, rigorous instruction going on bell to bell in our classrooms. So.
Really, this changed when the state enacted standardized testing requirements, because, we really wanted our kids to put forth the very, very best effort they could on these standardized tests, which of course also relates to school grades. And so that's the reason that, years ago, we basically have said past practice would be you don't walk if you don't get a diploma of some type. In the past it might have been a special diploma. It might have been a special certificate of completion for an ESE kid, but that was it.
And I will share that we have multiple people looking at options to help students throughout the district. So with this process to try and make sure we get everybody across the line and they get an actual diploma.
I just, for point of clarification, I think I'm understanding correctly. This does not affect, like every year at Bronson, we have the children that have been through Bronson
No, sir.
Elementary School
It
that
does not affect them.
they still get to come across because that's a very special thing at Bronson.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. This gets to be, because that's the ESC.
They're still receiving a diploma.
Yes,
They,
sir.
they receive their,
They get a
their
diploma.
diploma. Okay. That's what I thought. I just want to be sure I was understanding. Thank you.
Any further questions,
Action item.
discussion?
Yes,
Yes.
we're looking to approve this policy.
Do I hear a motion?
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Motion passes.
Ms. Lake?
Okay, Ms. Lake and Mr. Bennett, we're going to present board docs.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so what board docs is, and I'm probably gonna butcher this, but let me try this. It's a web-based platform that's used for disseminating and storing board meeting content. Videos, board agendas, board supplementals. And what it would connect to our website, so there would be a link on our website that you could click on and you could get to all that information. So we saw a demo, it was brought to our attention that this might be a more efficient and effective way for the superintendent secretary to push that information out. Instead of using multiple emails with multiple attachments, it wouldn't change anything that's on your desk. All of that would still occur, she would still do that. And it also would help us with archiving this information and make it easier for the public who may not be attending a meeting to access all that information either prior to or after approval. So we had a demo. We had them come in and they did a demo with several of us, and we went through two of the versions. There's LT and LT Plus. LT speaks solely to the board. LT Plus would let us bring in some public meetings that district level staff perform, like instructional materials. There's several that we have to do for public meetings. Right now we're going to focus on the LT. It may show a little on the LT Plus. Our thought was if you approve this software and we move forward with it, we would recommend moving forward with the LT version. Let the superintendent's office get used to how that flows and what that looks like. And then possibly when the time was to renew, we could broaden it for other public meetings led by district staff. So real quick, we're going to show the first demo, which is a short video that walks through the system more so from the admin side or what the superintendent's office will be, how they would be using it.
Today I'll give you an introduction to the BoardDocs LT solution. BoardDocs is a leading provider of software to school boards nationwide with over 3,000 clients. BoardDocs' goal is to save administrative time in gathering, reorganizing, and editing board materials. The other goal is to make those materials more accessible to the board members, as well as increase transparency to the public. We can go over to the BoardDocs product, and you'll notice the option to enter a public site. The link to this public-facing site will be posted on your district's website. We can go ahead and log in with our username and password as a board member. This will give us access to the content that the public is not privy to.
Can you pause that?
Here we can customize our photo.
So real quick, this shows that the board would be able to access it behind this sort of secure wall where we could have certain information like expulsions or certain things that are sensitive that you're not going to have for public use. So what we found unique about this was it allowed for a very private portal and then it has a public portal. And even within the private portal, it has layers of security and who would have access and who would not have access. Basically, we would have one or two people at the district, probably just one, that would have the access to upload and then give rights to people to view things. So I didn't want anybody to think that what you could see is necessarily what the public would see, because we know some things aren't for public review.
And logo, as well as what's presented on the homepage. Go ahead and click into our upcoming board meeting and view the agenda. We can click through each agenda item or simply scroll through and decide which one we'd like to look at. The agenda will always remain on the left-hand side with the details on the right. You'll notice here we have public content, administrative, and executive. Anything posted under public content is viewable by the public. Administrative and executive content permission can be set up internally. This enables you to post closed session information within the same platform that you're posting information to the public. In our Meetings tab, we can also view our minutes once they have been posted. This should automate the minutes process for your administrators. And finally, we do have an integration with YouTube as well as Vimeo, where you can add your board meeting video. You can index the video so that you can easily click through and it will skip directly to the part of that meeting. Finally, you can house your policies within Board Docs. You can click through each policy area, or we can simply use the search function. You'll not only search within the policy title, but also within the text body of the policy. Finally, you can search the overall system. You can decide if you're searching within meetings, policies, attachments. We can preview these items, or we can choose to navigate there. Finally, you have what we call meta search. Meta search enables you to search within all of our clients' public-facing information.
It's almost over, but I think you get a good idea of what they're offering us. It's one concise and localized way to house and display and disseminate this information. And we had Miss Angela in on the demo because obviously we wanted to make sure it would actually help her, save her time, not add more time. So she has viewed all this and seen all this. Real quick, and I did not watch this video, let's see from the board member's perspective real quick, and let's see if it's more of the same or a little bit different. They were supposed to put together a demo so you could see what it would look like for you.
Board Docs LT and Board Docs LT Plus from a board member's perspective. How we get to Board Docs is typically this URL here will be hyperlinked on the district's website. So if you hit your Agendas and Minutes tab, or maybe the Board of Education tab, it'll automatically pull up Board Docs for us. As a board member, we're going to authenticate. We can see here that the public has the option to join on the public side, which will give them access to view only public-facing material that your board releases. We'll go ahead and log in. Each board member will have their own username and login, and this will actually separate security on the back end for user permissions. Once we sign into Board Docs, we'll always land on our featured page. The featured page is really a great place for us to post anything that's upcoming or maybe even our most recent meeting. Also can post any updated policies or any of our most relevant policies for us to review. The featured page here is really just a background of the school, and again, we can find and easily see any of our upcoming meetings. Once I hit on our March 24th board meeting, notice how it pulls me to our meetings archive in Board Docs.
So you can see your view is very similar to what we just walked through, which would be the administration view. I think the important thing though is once you click on that board meeting, all your supporting documentation that you normally reviewed in an email will be there for review. Anytime we have to make a subtle change, a very small change, usually we get another email, more attachments. This time the change would occur on this platform and then you would just get an alert email that new material has been added, which would save Angela from having to mass email everybody. She would have those emails would be attached to alerts on this platform. So for you, it might feel a little bit different in the context you would be getting onto this platform to view the materials instead of her email. But nothing in front of you would change at all. Do you have any questions?
What do you think?
That was my question too,
Yeah.
Ms. Hogan.
I think, like she says, instead of sending changes out to you or Friday, anything we get between Tuesday and Friday, I send everything out to you on Fridays. You could just get the alert that there's new information been added. I know whenever I go on the FSBA and the FAD site, we go into this to print your agendas.
Ms. Lake, is the expulsions, I think you said, those are password protected, so if we have multiple, we have
They're
the
not.
option to sit back and...
Right, so they're more than even just password protected. You would have to have the authority to view it. So you're able to
Okay.
narrow down who would even have.
And we've never done that
ability.
before. You've always gotten your information when you got here,
So
so
we
it couldn't
could
get
know
out to
about
the
that ahead of
public.
time.
Yes,
I
that
would
was
like
one of the
that.
benefits.
I would like
we
that
got.
a lot more.
Like some of these that have the thick file, you have time to
Yes,
read it
ma'am.
all before you come in.
Yes, ma'am.
Because some of that's a load.
And
Reading about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big learning curve too for everyone. I've gone to a workshop on the board docs, and it still is a lot. But Angela, you're comfortable with it?
I'm comfortable with learning and doing anything.
Right, yeah, I don't want to be stuck in the,
Yeah.
not doing it, because I know that most board are doing that, but, it is going to be a big change for everybody.
do you remember how much training? Because that was our concern too.
Yes,
was
training.
Making sure you had access to training and Angela, and they also had a 24-hour
hotline.
hotline.
So there is a training package, and there's also, there's options that allow you to onboard gradually. So it doesn't have to be, we flip a switch and everything is now board doc. It can be certain things at certain times. So maybe you start with agendas and perhaps expulsion packets, and then move into policies and other things. So it can be onboarded as we are ready.
Well, I like that option better because I really believe that every computer system you buy, they say all the great stuff, and it's really working it out.
Well, we could start with maybe the expulsions and start with that and give you a chance to review that before you come to the meetings and see how that works.
Right.
That'd be great.
So do we have to buy the program, though? I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's
To buy the program just to do that, to be able to view? And
We do.
So we have to vote on buying that, even though,
It's $2,700 for the year, and I think our push from the this side would be to onboard that as quickly as possible. But Angela's driving this train, so I'm here to present it to you, but it does shift to an admin, and in this case, she would be the admin of this particular program. So she would be able to go as fast as she could, or a little bit slower. It's $2,700 a year for the one we're talking about, which is the LT. That does not open it up to other meetings. We need to make sure that does open it up. It should to the expulsions. The second package is $5,800, and then they're waiving the $1,000 setup fee through the end of March or possibly middle of April. So the one thing that we liked about board docs is, as all prices are escalating around us, costs are increasing, we did ask them about cost increases and how those work. The good news is this isn't Levy County negotiating with board docs. This is
FSBA.
negotiating with board docs. So it's a larger entity. So they explained to us that these rates are set by them. The cost increases, if any, occur through that negotiation. And I think they told us 3 years. It was a number of years, 3 years, that it would be relatively flat or flat. So that was encouraging to know, because we've seen, as with Frontline and those other softwares, how quickly those can increase. But our thought process behind this was to get this material to you more efficiently and get it to you sooner so that you had more time to review. And then also if we could streamline anything on Miss Angela's end that made her job a little bit easier, and then it transitions into that archival piece, which also she has a back-end piece, or Morgan does, after the board meeting to put that on the website. So it is actually touching several departments. And then we like the broad nature of it to where we could pull in other public meetings, as you see with instructional materials and libraries and those things, this may have a piece or a component we could use. We haven't reviewed all of that, but we were excited at the time.
Is that the difference between LT and LT plus the other meetings only?
So, yes, so LT Plus has LT's functionality with the ability to separate meetings and groups and committees to govern their meetings separate from the board. So LT is just your board meeting. LT Plus would let us pull on these other public meetings that we have to have by statute.
To the LT though, we can also add the expulsions?
I'm pretty sure, I'll make sure, we'll check on that. If not, that would be the LT Plus, and we could remedy that. But I feel like it was all LT.
Well, it's still board action.
Exactly, it falls under the same board meeting date, but under the executive. Thank you, now I remember.
I
So that's a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that guy. Because I've seen these Ferraris show up here that turn out to be Chrysler 300s with broke axles. But this one is coming in at the price of a reasonable Ford, so I'm a little bit okay with that. If this thing turns out to be terrible, can we get out of it? Fairly easy?
I'm pretty sure he reviewed the
It's
contract.
a year thing or?
It wouldn't be that hard. The main thing that I would say about it is that this is practically becoming a standard around the state, not just in NEFAC, not just, I mean, it's FSBA negotiated. There are dozens of districts around the state that are using board docs. It definitely will increase the compliance in terms of sunshine and archiving documents and the backup materials for board meetings. It's much easier to search not only your own policies or any member of the public who wanted to check on a policy. It would be easier for me to search policies.
So that'll save us attorney fees right there.
I generally know where stuff is, but sometimes I need to find like the exact language, and it's much easier to do that with this. But also, I mean, if you think about what would you have to do if you wanted to go look at an agenda, or we took a vote on something 6 months ago, and you were just wanting to look at that contract or that agenda or whatever, go through those minutes. This will be a lot faster. For if you
Does
ever
the
wanna go
search
back
work
and
off
look at
of a keyword, or do you have to know a date, or
No,
Was that the meta search?
Keyword.
keyword?
So all those things are advantages. The last thing I was gonna say, the main complaint I hear about board docs is the aesthetics of it. This part, it's not pretty. And some people kind of get confused, like on the consent agenda, if it's consent agenda items 1 through 10, well, 1 is always consent agenda. So really what you're voting on is items 2 through 10, not 1 through 10. I mean, there's some stuff like that people get a little thrown off about or have to feel like they're transitioning to. But overall, it's used by a bunch of districts around the state. It's kind of becoming a standard, and most districts are happy with the move.
And Miss Angela feels comfortable with this, that it will make your life a little
Actually,
easier?
we had an FSBA meeting the other day. We're having a once monthly, and a FADS meeting once monthly, virtual. And they told us that this was coming, and they sent us our sign-ons. So we are supposed to go on to your FSBA website to print off your documents. And they had mentioned that y'all have sign-ons and passwords to record your points that you receive for
Continuing ed.
trainings and stuff.
Yes, we do.
And I was supposed to go on there and help you monitor that. So I haven't been on there yet, other than to print your agendas, but they're wanting us to use this more as well.
And we will create our own user IDs and passwords here at the, or will they create
They
it?
give it to you.
I think we
They
give it to you because FSBA gave me
FSBA
mine.
gives you those.
They
They
gave
give us
me
a
my
user.
sign-ons for the FSBA website, so I think FSBA
You'll
will
have
give us.
something, you should have something different for a district level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think we would get a user
You'll
ID
get
and we
something from
pick our
here.
temporary password.
It may
pick
be
the
your
password.
email, I don't know how it works, but.
Well, I like the fact that we can see the expulsion hearings ahead of time, because some of those takes a minute to read all of it. Also, you have to, every once in a while, you have to take a deep breath and go, wow.
Yeah.
And to be able to access that ahead of time. So I move that we approve for the option 1. to pilot and see if we need to expand further.
Mr. Delaney?
And I wanted to get back to your specific question. This would be signing up for a one-year term. And then you can get out of it with 30 days notice before the expiration of the one-year term.
No problem.
So we'll be sure to come back before the board before we renew it, see how you like it, and at that time, kind of let you know our thoughts. From a district level perspective, we are constantly trying to find information in board agendas that were approved, because everything from contracts to hiring is outlined there, and then policy is incredibly difficult because you have to search it section by section, not even section, policy number by policy number. So we agree with what Mr. Delaney was saying.
So, but with that, are all our past board meetings going to be inputted and put in there? And that's going to take a long...
Yes, we can be. It's just as quickly as someone can physically here shift that, or they may go to our website, which our website I do not believe contains all the supporting documentation.
No.
So those are housed in paper, a lot in paper in our file room.
In the vault.
In the vault, but that would be something that we would want to do. We'd at least want to go back.
So we wouldn't have a deadline for doing that, or we wouldn't have any, so really, I mean, the purpose is to go back and look and to find things quickly, but we're not gonna know how long it's gonna take to put in our past agendas or anything?
You would be on the top of people who already do full-time jobs. So it would just be as quickly as we could find somebody with some downtime to start doing that. We haven't spoken to the superintendent to ask him if he would be
I mean,
agreeable to
everybody's
an intern or
pushed,
somebody
yeah.
doing it. So it would fall on the shoulders of people to do
Right.
it on top of their job.
And sometimes that, you know, everybody has a lot on their plate.
Right.
I do know that. Is there a deadline for us making this decision?
The original, they were waiving the $1,000, so, and they presented in between our board meetings, so through March, and I asked yesterday if they would wait and give us through April 15th, which would allow us the April meeting if we did not want to act today, so.
Right. I know there has been a motion. I would like to personally wait and just, you know, investigate a little bit more. And I agree with everything that's been said with, you know, this is the way things they're doing. And I know that most of the counties are doing that, but I love, you know, being able to get our expulsions before. I think that's very, very important. And also with that, you know, would it be possible, you know, to scan and send that to us before, or is that would be a security thing? I don't know.
I'd be concerned about security with that.
Yeah.
I think in the past that was requested, and I think because of security, because it being out there and then being on email, that's why I've never been able to send it to you.
Right, okay,
And I can't
understand.
mail it to you because then other
Yeah,
people have
right.
eyes on it.
Right. No, and I wouldn't dare want to jeopardize anything
And then
like
as
that.
soon as we finish this meeting, it's all shredded,
Right.
except for the official file I keep.
Right.
I do know, speaking to my mentor as a new school board member, she discussed the expulsions down in their county, and just her saying it worked very, very well for security purposes, and that's how they did theirs through board docs, and it worked excellently. I mean, there were no issues with security with that.
Right.
Just her comment and working with it for years as a board member.
And the implementation would take a little while. That's the other reason we were hoping to move forward as it progresses gets to be summer before you know it. And I think they said, what was implementation time? Was it 90 days? It was a little bit of time.
And I think there's flexibility built into that for whatever our priorities.
Trying to do the training and trying to get everybody. Our hope would be to start it with the new fiscal year, or sooner, obviously, than that. Is there anything, if we do delay, that we could specifically find out beyond what we presented today to help make the board's decision easier?
The two questions that I've heard is how quickly will past board agendas and
Right.
stuff be uploaded, and the implementation time frame. Is there, yes, sir, Mr. Etheridge?
And then how far back are you gonna go?
Right.
So the first question and the third question that you just asked will be dependent upon staff. I'm not sure board docs can answer those. Those will be directives from the superintendent on how quickly they want us to manage that.
My comment would be, because you all understand, and it eliminates me, which is okay because the avenue is going is probably more, it's down the right direction, but at the same time, it's only going to be good as the information that's put into it, just like any other computer program. So my question would be, we're a little vague for making a decision, is our commitment to get the information put into it. I'm not talking about work ethic. I'm saying this, if the information is not put in, where it's not a tool to any of us.
So the back meetings wouldn't be put in, but the new ones would, and that's where the importance is driving forward. We would certainly want to back up and put the old information in there, but those meetings have occurred, I guess is...
To me, you have to start somewhere, and
We would start with
anything
maybe-
past is just icing on the cake. But if
Right.
you start somewhere, I think it's a tool for the public also. I think it's a one-stop shopping. We've all gotten phone calls about what happened, I can't find it, there's that. It's beneficial to us. I would be concerned a little bit in the cyber world we live in, cybersecurity, but if there are multi-layers, and Mr. Bennett feels good with the program, but
Yeah, these things that we would be uploading would be, generally speaking, except for things like expulsions, public documents, those that were more secure, like the expulsion type things, security plan type things, those would be behind the same type of security standards that we use for other things. One of the things that I asked is whether they could provide a system of controls report, a SOC report, and they did indicate that they could, which is a good thing that auditors look for in terms of information security. And speaking, if I may, to the onboarding timeline, we have a fairly limited number of board policies, so that I don't think would take quite as long as trying to upload all of the old agendas, because just looking at the website, we have agendas and minutes back to 0405. So that would take longer because there's just a larger quantity of documents to do that. So, you know, those are, I mean, it's interesting to discuss and find out what other districts find most useful of all those, but I would think policies certainly would be.
I think certainly a short-term goal would be at least to get this year's agendas up from the start of this year as quickly as possible for searchability and for those things.
Would it be possible, because all those are public records, all those are, there's nothing confidential in those. We have other things we do this for. Would it be possible, like over the summer, to temporarily hire a student to put that stuff in for minimum wage, maybe a notch better than minimum wage? You know, we've got I'm 53 years old. You find you a 17-year-old, they can do that a whole lot better than anybody 53 can do. Zap it in, because I'd much rather see a person making $11 an hour doing that than somebody say, Miss Lake, well, I don't have anything to do. I'm gonna move this over. I'd much rather it be somebody that, okay, we're here, get it done. This is all you got to do. Boop, 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 boop. Knock it out and move on. As far as the old stuff, I think moving forward, anytime you put a new thing in, we're going to put the new stuff in and we're going to bring this forward.
Yes, sir.
Those are my thoughts on it. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, we have a motion on the table. I don't believe it's received a second at this point.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
So if we vote on this and then for the 1 year period, and we're going to waive the $1,000, we start now, but it's a 90-day period before we really start implementing. Is that correct?
We have what I heard, Mrs. Lake, is that we have flexibility.
Yes, and I also, I'm sorry, this demo was a month and a half ago. I do also believe they were fully aware of the way our fiscal year worked. Was this the same demo we were on? And doing this like short-term thing through June 30, and then they would start a contract on July 1, and I think that was to reduce and be prorated. So that would help reduce some of the cost as we're getting this up and running and some of these past board agendas uploaded. What was that? That was this one.
So if we vote on it now, it's going to be prorated until June?
Until June 30, right, you wouldn't want to pay.
Right, yeah.
No, yes, so it'd be prorated on those months, and then we'll get a fresh contract July 1. we've done demos and I cannot remember if that was this company. But I think it spoke to, what it said to me is they understood the way our fiscal years run and the way
I think I remember the
districts run.
July 1st one.
Was it them?
Because he said
Okay.
it would take up to 90 days to get it uploaded, initial training, and then try to start it off with the new year. And I remember you telling him July 1st.
Okay. So that would be how that would work. There wouldn't be $2,700 now and then another $2,700 at the beginning of July.
And if we take option one now, if we continue with that vote and find out, we know for sure that it does include the expulsions at this point.
Yes,
for
it's
sure.
under the
Because I
executive.
wouldn't want to vote something in and then not have what we just talked about.
It's under the executive. When you saw the different meeting types,
Yes, ma'am.
that
Okay.
it would.
I just
fall
wanted
under
to
the
double check that.
executive.
Any further discussion?
One final point, given the fact that we would be working off the fiscal year, if the board was really dissatisfied with how the onboarding beginning process worked, you'd have another opportunity to vote on a new contract for 22-23 in December.
Oh, that's good then, so we'd have to prorate and then we vote again, so.
And this works through the website, not your emails.
There'll be a link on the website that you would click on that would take you to that sign-on page, but you would get an email notifying you there's something there new waiting for you.
Can I make a, I don't say amendment, but I would like for us at the July meeting to have an update of where we're at. When I first came on board, we started a thing called Yellow Folder or Yellow Book, which is a total disaster before it was over with. And I don't want to be I'm not being negative, but these things are only as good as what we put into them is what we're going to get out of them. So I just want to make sure, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a tool for the board going forward. That could be a great help. All these things come with unintended consequences. So I don't want Angela having 9 more things to do on something we thought was going to make it easier. If we could just have a deal in July, quick to say, yes, it's going in the right direction. That's all.
Yes, sir.
That's
I
all.
agree too.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Lake, Mr. Bennett. And may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 8th meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as is.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I know you've all had a chance to look over the consent agenda, but Mr. Asbell, do you have any comments?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Boyle?
All my questions were answered, and just Mrs. Fleming will be missed. She's done a lot for a lot of our students throughout the years.
Ms. Brookins?
And thank you, and all been answered.
Mr. Etheridge?
I'm good, thank you.
My questions were answered as well. Mr. Superintendent? Oh, may I hear a motion to the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, ma'am. If you'll pardon me, I'm going to go to the podium for a minute. So, as you can see, we have a lot of people that do a lot of hard work on the backside for things. So, and I'm going to read off a little bit here. It says, rarely do you find a person skilled at seeing both the global and the intricate details of issues while also considering the district's best interest. This person is creative at both. They are definitely visionary in their day-to-day responsibilities, whether working with a school, an employee, or a colleague, always looking at the big picture, examining all that may be affected by a decision needing to be made. This person might be described as phenomenal, organized, compassionate, diverse, a strong critical thinker, problem solver, analytical, yet humorous. You will see employees constantly in and out of this office, welcoming anyone who needs assistance or guidance, very approachable. This person's passion is focused on being fiscally conservative while looking for ways to reward employees for hard work and commitment to the district. So knowledgeable is this person in their line of expertise that at a moment's notice, proposals can be changed, altered, or recalculated to fit the immediate demand. This year's negotiated compensation package is a perfect example, and it is the honor of Ms. Marla Hires to nominate Ms. Lake for an Impact Award.
Speech. We'll have a great team. Nobody does anything alone. Smile pretty, man. That's really sweet.
Congratulations.
Where is Marla? She's out.
Miss Marla apologized, so she was able to get 2 appointments in on the same day, and so she is off today. So, but she was very thankful that we were going to do this today during board meeting, so to recognize Miss Lake and her hard work. So, just a couple other things. So, you know, it's spring break, and as you can see, so we've got a large crowd here today, and maybe going forward, so if we do fall a meeting date, so that maybe we might look to reschedule, so, or things. There is a lot going on still with the fair, and people, you know, in that time of year, spring break came at a right time. I think everybody was ready for some respite and some R&R. And so we do have some people out, but some are working pig shows and steer shows and barbecue competitions and things like that going on. So, but the last two things, I just, you know, we touched on the fair, and great to see kids succeed and the education that comes from outside of the classroom and the hard work and just the grit and the resilience that goes along with being in those programs. So. And the last thing, since we've met and everything, you know, legislative season has ended, so they finished up right before. No action has been made as far as the budget, so it has not been sent to the governor's desk. So, but just want to reiterate and thank you all for the hard work that went in to make sure the Chief Fund project on the final stage was funded. And we're digging through the process of the legislative of the bills that were passed and those that have been signed already. And our staff, both district and school level, will be going through a debriefing with Bob Sarah in a couple weeks. So as we go through and we kind of sort through those things and the different things that come as statutes are signed, as bills become statute, and then, as you know, we hit into the season of the summertime of trying to update things and catch things. So, and with that, I think I'll let everybody, so I don't steal anybody's thunder, because I know each of you have some thunder that you'd love to share about the good things going on with your school. So,
Thank you, Mr. Cowart. Mr. Asbell, board comments?
I'm gonna let everybody else have some limelight and all that kind of stuff. It's the spring break and it's the fair. I'll let all y'all get into all that. I have more of an opinion to give at this time that will not be popular, but it is only Cameron Asbell's opinion. This is not a board opinion. This is Cameron Asbell's opinion, and it's something we haven't talked about. We talked about it previously, but we haven't talked about it this time. This legislative season, they passed that there would be term limits for school board members. That was voted right down party lines. We have people that sit in Tallahassee and claim to be our friends. By voting party instead of people, they turn their back on their people in this instance, in my opinion. I'm not opposed to term limits, and people will say, I'm saying that because it affects me. In reality, 12 years from now, I don't anticipate being on this board because, well, I'm already becoming an old man, and my time will have passed 12 years. So it doesn't affect me. It affects the future. Small counties like ours fight to have people to sit in these spots. It's a very small number of people who want these jobs. It's a small number of people who can do these jobs, not because they lack the talent, but because they lack the time. It takes away from their businesses. It takes away from their families. And a lot of small communities, small counties, have problems filling these seats. It's beautiful to sit in Tallahassee and say, we're going to have term limits. They pick the lowest hanging fruit. We're the lowest paid. We're the ones, you need to school board members, school board members, school board members. They want to take away pay. As a concession, we don't take away pay. We term limit. Eventually, that moves on to county commissioners. That moves on to other seats. And pretty soon, you lack people serving in public positions because we've just disqualified a bunch of good people. I believe term limits are already established in our small counties. It's called an election process. Not bragging on this. My time, I've not faced opposition. There's not been a whole lot of opposition here either, because we do a good job for Levy County, and Levy County believes in us. I believe if Levy County did not believe in their school board members, Levy County would have voted us out in a hurry. On this board alone, based on the action of the legislature, we're going to have an inexperienced board in 12 to 14 years. We're going to have people here who have no idea what an ippy-dippy is, because it's going to take you 4 years to learn those things, that right there. They're going to have no idea how these budgets work. They're going to have no idea about things that we face every day in a constantly changing thing. Not disappointed in the legislature as a whole, because the writing was on the wall. It was coming. I'm disappointed in those that claim to represent our small communities, our small counties, and we're your friend. We're going to take care of you, that chose to vote party line instead of for their people. I am in no way qualified, no way have a desire to be a state representative or a state senator. But in that moment, the ones that represent us should have looked at the position, the people that hold position and influence in their party, and said, I'm not doing that to my people. But they didn't. They sat back on their hands and said, yep. And they want to dance around and go, hey, we got term limits for school board members. I will also say this when it comes to term limits for school board members. This is a hard job. There's not a day goes by that you don't get a call. There's not a day that goes by that you don't have to talk to one of your friends about something that has disappointed them in the school system that we have no control over. But we have to look at our friends and go, there's nothing I can do about that. And we want to fix it. And we have a desire to be here. We have a desire to want to. People that sit in these positions are passionate. But now, because some people voted party instead of people, that passion will be gone. People like me, Miss Boyle, Mr. Etheridge, Miss Clemency, Miss Brookins won't be here because they'll go, why? So congratulations to those that claim to be our friends for voting party over people. And that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asbell. Ms. Boyle?
Very well said.
Thank you, ma'am.
The fair, Cedar Key, the kids are doing well. There was a minor setback with a couple hogs, pink eye with the one, so 2 of them were disqualified, but the kids are pushing through it, and talked to them a couple days ago. And looking forward to tomorrow as well up at the fairgrounds for sale day. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Brookins?
Well, I have some great things from Chiefland Middle High School. Their graduation coach informed me that they had 197 students fill out an in-depth, humongous effort with resume and everything, local scholarships. And I know that our local businesses, they do contribute a lot, and that's a big deal at graduation, and really a good thing for our students. And it really takes a lot working with the students, filling all that and with their resume and everything. So really, really super proud of them. And then I wanted to follow up with Mr. Cowart and everybody about our pickup area at Chiefland Elementary.
Breezy and I met, so need to set a time to debrief with you and share with you about plans going forward. So we did get a letter from the county,
Right.
so need to have some conversations. So
Okay, so we'll just follow up on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to working with our board and buying an animal at the fair for our students. So that'll be great. And I just want to wish everybody a happy, great spring break, and all the teachers, I hope they get rested and have a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brookins. Mr. Etheridge?
I don't have a whole lot. Growing up, I never understood what spring break was for, but I understand what spring break's for now, because time of year we need a time, everybody needs a timeout, because it seems like Christmas gives us that for a minute, and then, I don't know, by middle of March, everybody's ready to pull their hair out again.
Yeah.
So anyway, I saw administrators last week that were taking deep breaths, and, which is good. I don't hide behind it. I always hate the fair being this week. I'm missing the steer show for the first time in 18 or something years this morning. Went to the hog show last night, probably the largest crowd I've ever seen there before, and it's always good to see the kids doing good. Of course, you know, Williston did really good last weekend at the fair, and I think they won the swine show last night too. So anyways, a lot of good participation. The kids, the competition level's way higher than it ever was when we were there, Cameron. They're better at it than we are, for sure.
You know where that hog was raised, though?
Well, I know where he was purchased from. I'm not sure where he was raised.
I know where he was fed up and raised at, so just let you know.
Yeah, it was between the two towns.
In the city limits.
He set me up for that.
Walked into it, I had to take it.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But anyway, the fair, it'll be good to see everybody tomorrow, because I had somebody last week come up to me bragging. They go, you know, the Marion County Fair the other day sold $1.1 million worth of animals. And I go, yeah, that's nice. We all's big, huge industry you have in Marion County, but the Tri-County Fair does over $1 million every year, with a third of the industry. And it's always amazing to see people show up to support the kids. And I'm sure tomorrow won't be any different than it's ever been before. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say real quickly, Ms. Lake, just congratulations on your impact. It is so well deserved. I think sometimes we all take for granted what an asset you are to the county, and we rely on you so much. Sometimes in our executive sessions, you stand up there and we don't have any questions, and I think it's just because we have full faith in your decision making, and you're always there to answer the call or explain things, and we just really appreciate you, and it was well deserved.
You know where she was raised up at?
My dad went to Williston.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go. There you
It's
go.
all in the blood.
Oh, Lake, come on.
I have to honor my dad.
Amen.
It's really about that class of 92.
It's
though.
class.
Well, Yankeetown, as most of everyone knows, is a state champion, FFA, floriculture. I was able to go down last week, and these kids, it's just, their excitement is, they're over the moon and very proud, and it just opens the doors for things that they may not have otherwise known were even out there, the floriculture industry. So I'm very proud of them, very proud of Miss Gorey, who, and I started thinking, you know, these young female ag teachers, we have Cooey, we have Regina Harris, we have Miss Gorey, Miss Marcia Smith, ag teacher. Just these wonderful teachers that we have been blessed, and really a male-dominated industry like ag, we have these female ag teachers that just rock it across the county. So we're definitely blessed in that area. And like everyone else said, spring break, Swanee River Fair, we have, Yankeetown has a pig, Presley, that's up for sale tomorrow. So very exciting. Again, it's kind of a first couple of years for FFA in Yankeetown, and it's been very beneficial. So that's all I have also. And meeting is adjourned.